Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Kerrie Fitzgerald.
Yes, we do, y'all. It's really good. And it's kind of different than we've done before. And yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah, Kerrie, I heard a podcast with her and I put the link in the show notes. She talked about how she is an author, but she got her start in subscription boxes. And she talked about how she used pretty much everything else except ads and social media. Well, like she doesn't depend on social media to do a lot of her stuff. And so I was like, I think we should ask her on the podcast.
Yeah.
She came on and kind of talked through, I can't remember, like 5 or 6 options. It's been a couple of days since we recorded.
And they were so interesting. They were so interesting.
Yeah, there were things that we in the author community we know about, but we don't think of. It's not like top of mind. And the way she prioritizes things is she focuses on things that will last, that have search engine, I don't know what you call it, like juice that will last. So anyway, it was really interesting. And I'm really glad she came on. And she does have a book coming out soon too. And we talked about that. So very good.
It was great. So anything going on with you? Anything interesting?
Yeah, the Kickstarter finished, and my stretch goal for the last one was 20K, and we reached it. So that was just amazing. Like,
that's awesome.
Way more than I hoped or expected. You know, I mean, you just hope it'll go well, and it did. And so I'm really happy. And right now I'm scrambling to do all the things that you do afterwards, because of course I'm very linearly focused, and I have to focus on the Kickstarter, and then now that it's done I can focus on the delivering. So that is what I've been doing, and it went really well, and I'm really happy, and I'm just so happy for anybody who came along and joined me, and for the people who supported and shared. I really appreciate it.
I love that. I'm just so thrilled for you. It makes me very happy.
And I think you're thinking about doing one, right?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about doing a lot of stuff. Have I done? Story of my life. But so I'm not really doing a whole lot. I'm still working on, my story. I'm trying not to freak out about my story, because I don't really know how to write the story. It's different than a lot of the stuff I've written before. I mean, it's different, but it's the same. You know what I mean? But
it'll still be a Jamie Albright story.
Jamie Albright story. It's just different. And so I'm kind of, if I let myself, I freak out, and then I have to go, no, just write it, and you'll figure it out. And so that's what I'm doing. And then next Saturday on the 9th, I'm speaking at the League of Romance Writers here in Houston on newsletter building. And it's not a huge group, but if any of our listeners are in the Houston area, we're actually going to, I think the meeting will be kind of Northeast Houston, or I'm sorry, Northwest, not Northeast, Northwest Houston. Then if you want to come, DM me, and I'll give you the info and the time and the place. And because I'd love to see some people there. They have their own people, but you can attend 2 of their meetings for free, before you have to join. So you'd be welcomed. And so we're going to talk about newsletters and building newsletters, revitalizing newsletters, all that stuff. So
all good stuff. Yeah.
All good stuff. Yeah. So that's what I got going on. I've had a little bit of a health issue that I'm just kind of chronic that I'm kind of dealing with. Nothing major, but I was at the doctor twice this, all that yucky stuff. So that this week's been a little bit crazy, but, or last week, but, so all is well here in my world.
All right. Well, if you have a link for the event, send it to me.
I'll send it to you.
To put it in the show notes, we'll put it in.
Okay.
And that'll be in there. And Yeah, I haven't done anything else except finish the Kickstarter. And then we took a couple of days. It's a Labor Day weekend in the US. And so we went to the mountains and it was beautiful. It's actually warm here. Everyone's like, it's so hot here. And we just laugh. We go, oh you're so funny. It's warm for them.
Right.
So, but it's beautiful.
And we went to the beach here in Galveston, and my son and some of his friends my son and his fiance and their friends were here. And so we just came down with my mom and dad, and it's just been really fun, but I'm kind of sunned out. We're going to go to the pool this afternoon and then I'm done with sun for a while, but, so it's been good. And then also just let me mention my consulting. With September, I had quite a few appointments in August. And then September, I have a few open spots if anybody's interested. It's been really great, and I can really help. I really can. So let me just message me, and we will set something up.
Yeah. And we also should say we have a couple of new supporters, but since we're both traveling and a little disoriented right now, we don't have the list right now. So we will mention new supporters next time. Yep. And thanks to everybody who supported the podcast. We appreciate it.
You appreciate it so much.
Yeah. So I think we should probably get on with the interview.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here's Kerrie. Well, today we are really excited to talk to Kerrie Fitzgerald. Hi, Kerrie. How are you?
Good. How are you? So happy to be here.
Well, we're excited you're here. I think this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time and hopefully learn a whole lot about a subject that everyone is interested in. But let me read your bio first. Kerrie Fitzgerald is the founder of Kerrie Fitzgerald, LLC, an e-commerce and product business consulting and educational agency, and a host of the top 100 marketing podcast, the Six Figure Product Business Podcast.
Yay. Yes. And we have you on because you're going to talk to us about selling your product without using social media or relying on social media so much, which has become a bit of a nightmare for a lot of people. So, because social media is so fickle and it changes so much. But you got you've also done subscription boxes. So tell us about your background with subscription boxes.
Yeah. So I started my first business. It'll be 7+ years now. It was called the Dapper Dog Box. And I had basically just left a background in marketing and sales and international education. I had just had a baby and I thought, okay, totally makes sense to start an e-commerce store when I know nothing about it, but I did it. I launched that in 2016 and just learned a lot. Again, I had never done e-commerce before, and it's a different ball game. Even if you're great at marketing and sales, selling a physical product, having an online store, it's a different thing. So it was an amazing learning experience. And, I made a lot of mistakes, but I did a lot of things right. And one of the things that I really did right was really understanding how to leverage my customers to become like brand ambassadors or advocates for me, and really getting my customers to feel connected to the brand. So they would go out and promote me on social media, promote the brand to their friends, followers, that kind of thing. And then also just leveraging organic traffic and marketing. So in my 3 years I had the business, I didn't do ads. I definitely dabbled. Like, I think I spent maybe $100 on Google ads one time, but for the most part, didn't do ads. And so many businesses nowadays, they rely on advertising 100% to get sales. They don't really know how to get sales otherwise. And so I really leverage all the organic ways to get traffic and, get sales and that kind of thing. So those were a couple of things that I did really, really well with that business. I grew it to multi-six figures of revenue per year. And then in 2019, I sold the business, which is still definitely my proudest, I would say, achievement in the business space or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone has different things that they're proud of, but
sure.
I mean, it's definitely one of mine. And then I started my current company about a year later after just doing, freelance work and just, trying to figure out what my next step was after selling my business. And that's kind of what I'm doing today. So
That's great.
Summary.
Yeah. Well, that is terrific. And I think it's very interesting because, like, we were talking a little bit before we got on the podcast, and there are a lot of authors doing subscription boxes. So I think people will be interested because of that. And then also just everyone wants to know how to sell products without using only social media. It's been being so dependent on that. So we're going to get into all that. But whenever we have somebody on that's like an industry expert type person, we always ask, do you have any aspirations to write?
I do. And
just a big fat softball to whack out of the park, Kerrie.
Yeah. So I'm definitely very multi-passionate. So even though I now help people either start or grow, e-commerce businesses, online stores, physical products, that kind of thing, I definitely love doing other things. So 2 years ago, I wrote a children's picture book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The Boy Who Chose Adventure. It's very cute. And it's basically about my son and my golden doodle exploring different parts of Pacific Northwest. So that was like my first, I call it like a project. I don't know. It was one of those things where I wanted to do it. I came up with the idea. I was like, it would be really fun to do this with my son. And we self-published on Amazon, and it's on Ingram Spark as well. But that was a really fun project. It's a beautiful book. I hired this incredible designer to do the illustration. So it came out pretty phenomenal. Definitely expensive. I don't know if I'll ever get the return on investment for that book, but it's okay. It was a really fun learning experience. And then I'm actually coming out with my first business book I'll just say sometime in 2023, because I don't have the exact launch date, but it's called Customer Obsession. And it's basically a book that talks about how to create loyalty with your customers. So you get your customers to buy more from you again and again. So those are, I would say, my writing aspirations for now. But the business book has been, it has been a process. It has been a process. Just one of those things where I started it a year and a half ago, and I'm happy that it's, finally the book is done. I mean, there's no more edits. It's done. But I look back at when I was first starting, and I really wish I had taken the advice I give everyone else. When you want to do something and you don't know how to do it, find someone who has already done the things that you want and figure out how to work with them or learn from them. Yep. And I really wish I had gotten like a coach or a mentor or something for this book, because I made so many mistakes, especially in the beginning, and it just wasted so much of my time. And even with the self-publishing process and adding the book on this place, and, the cover won't upload, and, so many things. It's so frustrating. And this book has given me a head of gray hair, I will say. It's definitely the hardest thing that I've done, I would say, in my business. So, but like super proud, and I'm excited for it. So,
yeah. I mean, that's so great. And, for self-published authors, independent authors, all authors, but because we do everything, I think that customer loyalty, the brand obsession, because in so many ways we are the brand. I mean, it's not just our books, our products are not just the brand, it's authors that are the brand. And so I think that book is going to be like, as soon as it comes out, I'm getting it. But I just, because I really, and I think a lot of us are trying to figure out how to get those evangelical readers, the readers that will be our evangelists, that will tell everybody about our stuff, and that will come back again and again and again and bring their friends. So that sounds great. I can't wait to read that. So tell me, this is a big loaded question, I'm sure, but what are the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs making in your work that you do with them?
Yeah. Let's see. I think one is, because I think a lot of product-based businesses are afraid to show their face
Yeah.
They're afraid to weave in their story, their personality. So I think one big mistake I see is not putting a human behind the brand. So you sell, I'm just going to say you sell water bottles. So you have this online store. There's no person on the website. There's no story. There's no founder story. And it's sort of like this whole concept of the faceless brand that I really teach people to not do, because that's what Amazon's for. Amazon, you go to Amazon, you search for a product that you're looking for, and you don't care about, anything. You're just trying to get whatever's going to show up at your door in 2 days for the best price. And you've probably read the reviews. But when it comes to an online store, and because we want people to be able to buy stuff, and not buy from Amazon necessarily, you have to show there has to be a human behind it. And I think once there's a human attached to a brand, people are more likely to, one, there's just a connection and trust. But two, when you know that you're buying from this mom in Texas who, is hand making these Christmas stockings for you, you're less likely to leave a bad review. You're less likely to send a rude customer service email, and you're more likely to share that with friends and family. So I think that's a huge mistake that I see. I think the second mistake is, and this probably goes to exactly what you want to talk about, is relying exclusively on social media to get customers. So that is a huge and dangerous mistake for an e-commerce business, because with social media, like, one, you don't own it. You don't own Instagram, you don't own TikTok, and they can shut your account off for any good reason. It's happened to many of my clients. It's happened to a ton of people that I know. And if you don't have a way to get customers, if your Instagram account gets turned off, what business do you have?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge, huge, huge mistake. And I think the third mistake is not being consistent. So you try something for a month and you're like, oh, I did Pinterest for a month and it's not working. I quit. Or you write one blog post and you're like, oh, I'm not ranking for this keyword. I give up. Like,
yes,
maybe quitting too fast is maybe actually what I meant, instead of being consistent. But yeah, quitting too fast. So whether it's social media posting or really anything, like you launch a brand and, you give it 3 months and you're not making enough sales and you're like, oh, I'm quitting the business. Where in fact, you could have just looked at what you were doing and just think, okay, how am I getting customers? How, maybe I should reach out to the customers who've bought from me and just ask, how did you hear about me? Why did you buy from me? And then just being strategic. If you know one strategy is working, you double down on it,
Right.
So
Right.
I think those are 3 mistakes.
Yeah. I do other consulting, and one of the ways I kind of determine who I'll work with is, or if I get an email that says, okay, I've done this, this, and this, it doesn't work. I want you to tell, well, how long did you do those things? Did you do them this year or 5 years ago? And, it's that kind of mentality of, well, it doesn't work for me. It works for everybody else, but it doesn't work for me. So I can really appreciate that. You just have to hone in. I love the idea of like polling your current customers, in our case, readers. And how did you find out about us? Like, where was that place? Was it somebody that told you, or was it on Amazon, or was it through an ad? I mean, so I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Especially if you're not getting traction with your business. I think we forget to just go back to the basics. And if we've gotten 5 customers, that's okay. Reach out to them. Why did you choose my book versus all the other ones? Was it the cover? Was it like the keyword? And then just asking, how did you find me? Was it from this channel or this channel? And then when you know those things, you can do more of that. So do more of what's working.
Yeah, that's really smart. And sort of like, even if you only have a few, you can almost do like a little focus group and figure out, this is how I can get started. So I think that's a really good tip. So I actually heard your podcast, your 6-figure product business podcast in, I think it was December 2022. And you talked about ways to grow your brand without using social media. And so I was like, we got to get her on the podcast because this is some really good information. So we kind of wanted to just talk through your ideas and give people tips on ways because I think most people, one of their first thoughts is either I'm going to pay for ads or I'm going to get on TikTok or get on Instagram. And so these are things you can do besides that. So I made a list. Can we just talk through them sort of? And so the first one you mentioned was podcast appearances. So
absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think this has become such a no-brainer for me because now I have a podcast and I can, at least for my business, that is where I would say 90% of anyone who signs up for anything I have, it's because they found my podcast and they listened to a few episodes. They connected with me, or they're like, oh, whatever. She's weird and she's authentic and she knows what she's talking about, kind of thing. And then they sign up for something. So I really have firsthand seen the power and benefit of podcasting. But for people that sell books or other physical products, getting on other people's podcasts, like figuring out what niche your thing is, finding podcasts that offer that, and then get on there and talk about it. It could be you sharing your story. It could be you sharing, it doesn't matter the specifics here, but getting on people's podcasts gets you such good visibility for multiple reasons. But one, you're getting in front of that podcasting audience. So they're listeners. Most podcasts, whether they're small or big, they have a built-in audience. So when you have a new episode, they're probably going to listen to it, But two, most podcasts are then taken and put on either a blog, sometimes a blog or a YouTube video. Yeah. And then those are things that feed into a search engine, aka Google. And those are really great because then when people are searching for things on Google, that YouTube video or that blog post will pop up and then people will discover you over time versus something on Instagram, which dies after a day or two. So I really, really, really always yell at people, focus on things that help you show up on the search engine because that grows over time. That blog post that you post today, next year and the year after, that will keep getting pushed out to Google.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing about podcast is it seems like it's a slow burn kind of thing. It may take a while if you do a whole bunch, to get the word out, but people listen to podcasts and they're very attached to host, and there's a loyalty there and a trust that if somebody has you on, then it's like you're saying, hey, check this out. And I think we forget to take that into account. So, but I did want to ask too, if someone is writing fiction, I write historical fiction, historical mysteries. So there may be some mystery podcast, but I could also look for history podcasts, right? Is that what you'd recommend? As long as it's somehow related, right?
Yeah, it just has to be related to the niche in some sense. So if you're writing about you said historical mysteries?
Yeah, set in the 1920s. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think you could do, history podcasts. You could also do book podcasts. If you think you have, if there's I'm trying to think of I feel like the mom angle can kind of be fit in a lot of things, like mompreneurs. I don't know if but I'm just saying I think the mompreneur ones could be a good fit. And then entrepreneur podcasts, product podcasts.
Right.
So I think you can really, you got to think outside the box. You can't just think, well, I write 1920s historical mysteries and there's no 1920s podcasts out there. So I won't be a good fit for anyone. You have to really get creative. But as we talked about earlier before we started recording, not reaching out to podcast hosts and saying, oh, I'd like to be in your podcast. And it has nothing to do with your podcast. So right. I use the example of real estate, because someone actually emailed me and they said, oh, we have the perfect host for the perfect guest for your podcast. She's a real estate mogul and da-da-da-da. And I love the episode where you talked about real estate, and I wrote back to her, and sometimes I can be a little sassy because I get annoyed. And I wrote, "Oh, I'd love to know what episode that you're referring to where I talked about real estate," and then they never responded.
Yeah. I was like, well, too much attention probably there. Too much attention to detail there.
Yeah. So obviously, like, it has to be somewhat related, but you can really get creative when you're reaching out to podcasts to be a guest because, people are looking for guests to be on podcasts all the time. And just like you said, I love that you said the hope, like the listeners trust the hosts. So by being on a podcast, it's like they're vetting you and saying, oh, this person's great kind of thing. So yeah, I cannot say enough things about podcast appearances. They are, they're absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people don't consider, like they don't think of.
But people used to do blog tours all the time. And a few people have done podcast tours, like when a book launches, but it is and I've heard of a couple people using podcasts to support like a Kickstarter, but it's not like top of mind. So it is a good thing to look into.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, I'm thinking outside the box. I didn't start writing until I was 50. So there's there may be this whole genre of podcasts that I need to go investigate about women that sort of have second careers, or after you've raised your kids, you now have this career and not just started writing at 50. I had success after 50. And so stuff like that would maybe be something that would be a podcast sort of subject that somebody might be interested in. So I'm gonna write that down. So
that's a really good idea. I love it. I mean, I think you got to get creative a little bit. And I mean, going through podcasts and pitching myself is not my favorite thing to do. And in fact, I'm actually in the process of training my virtual assistant to start helping me out with that, because I don't like doing that, but it's important. And I think the first objection, because then I have a coaching program, and one of the pieces of the coaching program is pitching yourself to be in podcasts. And, I get a lot of objections from people in that program always. And they're always like, I don't know what to say. No one would care about me. What do I talk about? Like, I don't want to share my story. And I think you have to remind yourself that if you sell a physical product, again, whether it's a book or it's a water bottle or I don't know, it's like art prints, your story is what will connect people. It's that's the sort of bit that people will remember. They might not remember your actual product, but they'll remember you, and they're like, oh yeah, that girl who wrote that book, like, I'm going to go check it out, because you have a cool story. So don't be afraid to share your story. Everyone's story is unique and interesting, and no one has your exact story. So
very true.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And then YouTube, you have a YouTube channel, correct?
I do.
Yeah.
So I definitely have a lot of things, and YouTube, I'm finally like committing to doubling down on my YouTube work. I just got monetized recently, and
that's great.
Yeah, or I reached monetization status. I haven't actually made anything yet, but it's coming. I worked hard to get those 4,000 watch hours from 1 year.
Yeah.
YouTube, and like YouTube is definitely not for everyone, but for my business, because I do a lot of like educational stuff, it's easy for me to do YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I think YouTube is awesome because, again, it's the second biggest search engine. And when you put stuff on YouTube, it continues to circulate. So again, unlike Instagram or any of that, people aren't going to discover you over time. But YouTube, you make one, like I have one video, and it's I forget the exact title, but it's like, start a subscription box in 15 steps. And I made that video 2 years.
Great title.
Yeah. 2 years ago. And that video, I mean, that's my YouTube is not great. Okay. I'm going to just say it. My YouTube, I'm working on it. But that one video, I don't know if I have 38,000 views or 28,000. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
It just, when I check my analytics every month, that video is still the one that just keeps getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. and I made it 2 years ago. So I made one video 2 years ago, and it continues to get views, and it continues to sell. I have a course, Subscription Box Launch Academy, and I don't talk about subscription boxes anywhere. I usually use the word e-commerce because I focus more on helping people sell like a one-time thing, like using water bottles, because I literally have my water bottle on my desk now.
As do I. Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
But the subscription box stuff, like I don't talk about it. I don't have content about subscription boxes anymore. I don't talk about it at all. But YouTube sees that people are liking that video, watching that video, searching for subscription box stuff on YouTube. And so they keep pushing that video out to people. And that's kind of the power of YouTube, is like when you have stuff that continues to get pushed out to people, which doesn't happen unless it's on a search engine. So blogging will go to Google, YouTube will also go to Google. So just and like not everyone is going to start a YouTube channel, but depending on, what you're selling, what your niche is, I would really think hard on, could I have a YouTube channel? Like, how could I make it work to grow my brand? And it's kind of incredible what it can do.
Yeah. And it's something that as authors, we don't think of that first or even at the top of our possibilities. But I do know some authors who are using YouTube to share audiobooks. And, it's like they have people that will listen because they're a YouTube first person, like some people are podcast, and so that's something that I've thought about, that might be a good way to kind of share things about my books, is through something like that. It's very interesting, and it's not something that a lot of authors are doing. And like you're saying with the search engine component, that's huge. And that's something that we don't really think about a lot. And that gives you longevity, right? With your content.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I was recently, because I'm trying to figure out my launch for my book. Like, there's so many options that you can do. Do you do pre-order? Do you do this? Do you do that? And it just becomes really confusing. So I was searching on, I didn't even go to YouTube first. I just went to Google and I searched, I forget what I searched for. And I found a YouTube video of some girl. And then I watched her video. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, she has good stuff. And then I searched for a different question on Google. And then the same girl popped up again. And I was like, okay. So I watched that video, and then I scrolled down to the bottom and I saw that she offered strategy sessions. And I had literally that day posted on my Instagram, does anyone know of anyone who can help me with like a business book launch? I have questions. And I wasn't trying to get free advice. I was like, I want to book a session with someone. I need to talk to someone who knows. And then I found that girl stuff the same day. So I was like, okay, I feel like the universe is telling me to sign up with her. So, so I signed up for her strategy session, and, all because I Googled something and I found her, and then I found her again. So, and she does more YouTube like education. So, 5 ways you can launch your book, or, 2 ways that you can do this. So it's very educational focused, but she's also, I believe she writes current books as well. So that could also be kind of something for your audience if they haven't considered going down the education angle,
right?
Content creation angle, or like coaching angle. And that's where YouTube is a total no-brainer. If I could start over, I would do YouTube would be number one.
Okay.
YouTube number one, equal to a podcast, but really focusing on, my podcast is like my favorite thing ever, but you can't beat the YouTube algorithm. I've never seen anything like it before. It's when YouTube likes your video and they see that it's working, they just push it out to everyone. It's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, what I was going to say earlier is that we need to go back and look at our keywords and everything on our YouTube videos, just to make sure that we're, we have things that would be searchable. because I don't know that we paid that much attention to it.
We're definitely podcast first.
Yeah, we're podcast first.
So that we'll have to make a note to check that.
Yeah. Or get somebody else to.
Yeah. So another thing you talked about was Pinterest. So that's something that it's more like it is a search engine, right? Pinterest is more similar to a search engine, right?
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for authors for that?
It's like more like a search engine, less like social, like, because people think Pinterest is social media, and it is like, it is funneled in the social media category, but it's really not social media. Like followers do not matter on Pinterest. People always say, oh, how do I get more followers on Pinterest? And I'm always like, why do you care? Like, it's not about, you don't talk to people on Pinterest. There's no conversations. There's no comments, or, I mean, there is technically, but none of that is relevant.
That's not driving it though, right?
Mm-mm.
No, not at all. So Pinterest is all about, discoverability. So people go to Pinterest, they search for something. They're not scrolling. They're going to look for a specific thing. So they might be looking for, like, a lot of people use Pinterest for home decor or decorations or recipes and things like that, but it can really be used for anything. And again, when you post something on Pinterest, it also shows up on Google. So if you search for how to start a subscription box business, if you actually search for that, you'll actually probably find a bunch of my pins on there that I created like 3 years ago that still, like, literally still like live on in Pinterest land. It's crazy. But yeah, so the point of Pinterest is that it's a cold audience, it's cold traffic. So if you create a pin, it should then lead someone to like a blog post or a YouTube video or a podcast episode where they can then learn more about what it is you're talking about. So, Pinterest, you're not going to get sales on day one. It's something that it helps people discover you, but then you lead them to a different place, your blog, your website, your podcast, even like a proper social media channel, like an Instagram or something, where then they can see more of what you offer, see more of what you're selling and that kind of thing. So, but Pinterest is also pretty amazing. I don't focus too much on it right now for my own business. Unfortunately, I had to like pick and choose a couple things and not just do everything. But when I first started my current business, because I was starting from scratch, I actually really heavily dialed into Pinterest. Like I said, everything was subscription box business things, and people still find those today. Like I literally created them 3 years ago. People still find them. They still drive tons of traffic to my website, and I created them 3 years ago. So again, when we're thinking of things for our business, whether you sell a book or anything else, you want to think, how can I drive traffic to my online store or my website or my book page? That it's driving traffic while I'm sleeping, basically. And you want to be putting those things into place that build that traction and longevity. So what you do today will be working for you years down the line. And that's what Pinterest will do. So even if you just do a little bit of Pinterest stuff, it really, really, really works. But you have to understand that it's a cold audience. So if you just create a pin with your book on it, you're not going to expect like everyone to be buying it. You have to create something else and then push them to your website, and then they can learn about your book or whatever else you sell.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be smarter to do something like maybe like a roundup, like here's 5 books, like if you like Downton Abbey, you'll like these 5 mysteries. And I could see people clicking on that because they'd be like, oh, I know what Downton Abbey is, and it would pull in the right people for me. So like you've got to kind of have something that if they don't know you, that they'd be willing to click on it, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so driving traffic to your online store or someplace else, there are a lot of authors right now trying to sell direct or selling direct from their websites, their own books. And so you talk about gift guides too. So tell us how you use gift guides or how you would suggest people use gift guides. And then maybe we can brainstorm just a tiny bit about
books as, using your books as, in a gift guide kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially for, Q4 of the year, that's the holiday season. So
Sure.
this is the one time of year that people are literally searching for things to buy. Like they are actively searching for products that they can buy for friends, family, their kids, themselves, whatever. So getting on gift guides is really a great opportunity because a lot of people they'll be searching for things like gift ideas for 5-year-old child or gift ideas for mother-in-law. And then they're going to go to Google and search for stuff. And then gift guides will 100% filter it in, and they'll go and search for that because they want it, in the end, you want it to be easy to buy stuff for people,
Yeah,
you want
sure.
to make it easy for yourself. So getting on gift guides is just a really awesome way to get your product in front of a lot of audiences. And again, depending on the gift guide, depending on the, the blog and all that again still lives on the search engine. So next year, sometimes what they'll do is they'll update the titles. So they'll say, gift guide, the best gift guide for your author friend in 2022. Next year, they'll actually just update the links. So it'll say 2023.
Oh,
yeah. So I know a lot of I've done that too. So yeah, it's just an easy way to get in front of audiences. That's kind of what it is. And then gift guides are things that people will share, like forward to friends. And it's just a way to get in front of a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. So like we could even get together with like I write small town romantic comedies. So, if I got together with a couple of other small town romantic comedy authors, we could make a gift guide with some of our books, and drive traffic to each of our websites or something. Would that work? Or
Yeah, absolutely. And it can just it can be under any niche as well. So if you think your audience is moms, or you think your audience are whoever, like a specific type of person, like the health fanatic or, whatever.
Gift guides for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you can, and another cool thing that you can do, and this kind of relates to affiliate marketing, which is one of my favorite things, is, you can create your own gift guides, kind of like what you just said. I mean, I've done that for my business. I actually wrote a gift guide 2 years ago on my client's blog. It's a pet blog, but I wrote a gift guide on the 5 best children's books, something like the best children's books with dogs, or like for the dog lover or something like that. And I put my book in there. It's the first book. So we can definitely
Yeah, I love that.
We can definitely plug ourselves. But yeah, you could put it on, the 10 products for like women over 50, or, the best 10 gifts for the small time mom or whoever. It can really be anything. If you just start looking up gift guides, you will see the randomness. Like they are, they drill down. I mean, the 10 best gifts for the Pacific Northwester.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I was going to say, are there specific, like, what would be your recommendation? Like if we could do our own, like we could create our own, but if we wanted to suggest we be included in a gift guide, how would you go about that?
So there's kind of a couple ways. I'll give you the easiest way first. So there's a website called helpareporter.com. HARO is the acronym. Helpareporter.com. And you can sign up for that. It's free. And it's basically a website that connects journalists and writers or bloggers to sources, essentially.
Cool.
So someone will write, from entrepreneur.com, for example. I'm just giving an example. We're looking to feature 10 pet businesses to be featured in our roundup of the 10 best pet companies in 2023 or something. And then you kind of pitch yourself. You'd write a little email and you would just say, I found this pitch. This is why we should be included, blah, blah, blah. So that's how my business got a ton of PR and features is from Haro. So a lot of people might be like, oh, it's kind of annoying, but I mean, I've had amazing luck with it. And I've had really great features, everything from gift guides to being in really cool articles to being on, like, not me, but my product was on TV publication, like it just really cool opportunities. So a lot of people right now are looking for products for gift guides. So right now, I don't know when this episode will air, but I would say really up until December, pitch yourself for gift guides.
All right.
Every opportunity is a way to get in front of a new audience and to drive traffic. And it's like, doesn't take any effort on your part. You might have to send a sample of your product, but most of the time, these people, they don't want samples. They just want like a link. So you can do that. And I was going to talk about something else and I forgot. Never mind. Yeah. So that's the easiest way to get into gift guides. The second way is not so easy, but it's not hard. It just is like cumbersome, is basically like looking at what industry you're in and then go to Google. You can use search engine SEO tools, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because
it's a deep rabbit hole.
Your listeners will like fall asleep. I love SEO, but people find it really boring. So you can go to Google and just search, gift guides, plug in your book niche. So romantic comedy or historical mysteries, or just like gift guide book mystery books or something like that. Like make it a little bit less niche and then look at what's already out there. And then there's really you can do is you could reach out to that person and say, I noticed you had this gift guide. I think it's awesome. I also have a really awesome book and I would love to be added to this list.
Oh, cool.
What do you think? And you can be a bit more aggressive if you have an affiliate program, which is one of my faves. Having an affiliate program will make it so people will be happy to add you to gift guides and things, because then if their reader buys the book, they get a commission. So having an affiliate program will always help you get into more of these gift guides and features and things like that. So I just want to throw that out there. But you can always reach out and say, hey, I saw this gift guide or I saw this roundup of books. We have a great book. What do we need to do to be included? So that's kind of the second way to do it.
That's great.
I think those are great ideas. And they are very you have to do some work to find out where you should send your stuff, but then they're doing all the hard work, the heavy lifting of writing the article and posting it. So it's, it sounds great. So it's definitely on my list to do.
Mine too. I just wrote it.
So you also mentioned influencers. So what would be your recommendations for maybe trying to find influencers and just maybe a tip or two about how to work with them?
Yeah, influencers are, that can be it feels tricky now. I think the influencer, I almost want to use it. I think everyone thinks they're an influencer now and they're like, oh, if you want me to promote your book, it's going to be $700 for
22,000. Yeah.
For one Instagram reel. I'm kind of poking fun a little bit, but yeah, I think with influencers, with the book space, I think just trying to think who are my people, who has a honest, even I find the smaller audiences work better for influencers.
Yes.
I mean, I have sent product to people with millions of followers and gotten zero sales, yet small audiences of 1,000, 2,000 and gotten tons of sales. So I always tell people, with influencers, find people who don't promote every product every single day. Because I think when people do that, it gets very diluted and then they lose trust with their own audience. But you're just wanting to find people who can, for the book people, talk about your book, promote your book in a way that, is authentic and all that. But I feel like I'm rambling about the influencer thing.
Yeah. Well, it seems like that was kind of a bigger trend maybe a year or two ago, and now it's kind of fading out a little bit. I mean, I know people still use them.
Yeah. I think I just see so much BS with with influencers.
Yep.
And I'm trying not to say too much negative stuff.
Yeah.
I just see so much BS, and you know, and I've worked with influence before. I've never paid anyone for my old business. I didn't pay anyone, but I would always get people reaching out to me being like, I love your product so much. Like, we would love to work with you. We would love to collab with you. We'd love to be an ambassador. And instead of just saying, oh yes, we'll send you a product and, you know, we'll pay you or whatever, we just had these like brand ambassador contests where we would choose people for a different season, a specific season. And then they would promote the product. They would talk about the brand. They would post about us in exchange for free products. So that worked really well for my business. But none of the traditional like influencer things, it never really worked for me. I don't know. Yeah. And I was always kind of I don't have anything against influencers. And I think like you should be compensated for your work. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just didn't want to pay people. That sounds bad. I don't know. And now people will come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, Kerrie, this person reached out to me and she said she wants to, you know, promote my product for me. And she has 20,000 followers. But she's wanting to charge me $2,000 for an Instagram post, and I'll go and look at their account and I'm like, oh, hell no. Yeah. You can just tell, like, she has 20,000 followers, but if you actually look at the posts, there's no comments, there is no engagement, like hawking product every single day. I'm like, that is exactly, I think that's why now I have this like negative connotation with influencers, is because you see those people, and then this poor business, you know, she was almost ready to pay this person. She's like, I'm not even making $2,000 a month and I'm going to pay this random person. So I think if you're going to work with influencers, you just have to be cautious and understand, like, within your space, who are the people that can influence. It doesn't have to be someone on social media. It could be a YouTuber. Like, to be honest with you, I think it's a better idea to find someone on YouTube, send them your book, have them do a debriefing of your book. And that's an influencer, and you might pay them a little bit of money or maybe not, but someone on YouTube that can talk about your book, can show the book and say, you know, like, this is what I read, da, 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 da. Like, I think that is a really good opportunity for an author to work with an influencer, is a YouTuber, like a YouTuber unboxing or a YouTube book review or something.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And you basically just have to do your research, right? You just got to find out if it's someone who is influential with the people you want to reach. So let's change the focus a little bit and talk about customer created content, because I think that's something that we all have. Like, an influencer might be a little bit harder to find and reach, but like, we all have readers, and you've done some really interesting things, like to get people talking about your products. So what would be some of your tips in that area?
Yeah. And I love this topic. So, you know, I always say UGC, or, you know, user generated content or customer created content, really important no matter what product you sell. But if you sell a physical product, you know, you always want to be encouraging people to take a photo of you reading the book, or take a screenshot of you with the book in your favorite reading spot and share on your favorite social. So this would definitely be a social media focused thing, but you want to be asking, like, you have to ask your people. You can't just assume they're going to do it, but if you ask them, you know, and that could be something that you could add in your book at the end. I know with my business book, there's definitely a million references to go and, you know, share with a friend, or join our, you know, go grab this bonus. If you sign up for the bonus here, you know, blah, 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 you get extra course materials or something. But I think with any author, you definitely always want to be asking people to take photos or videos and post it on their own social media, but you have to ask them, you have to be clear, you have to give them specifics. So for authors, I think you could make it really simple and just literally say, take a picture of yourself reading our book in your favorite reading spot, or the most scenic reading spot in your house, or I don't know, something silly like that. And then you could incentivize it by saying every month we'll choose one winner and we'll give you, it could be like a $10 Starbucks card or whatever your people like. But if you incentivize them with a little bonus kind of thing, you're more likely to get people to actually do it. And you also want to have some sort of hashtag, or you just say, tag us on Instagram. Be kind of specific. Don't say tag us everywhere. Just choose one or two. Instagram or TikTok, or Instagram. If your audience is on Facebook, Instagram or Facebook, tag us. And every month we'll choose one winner who will get a $10 Starbucks card. That $10 Starbucks card is what oftentimes will push people to actually end up taking action.
Yeah.
Because, people always want to win free stuff. So I would just kind of get creative about that. But you want to always keep asking people. If you don't ask people to take a photo with your book or share yourself reading our book, they won't do it. Some people will. But if you want them to do it, you have to ask them, and you have to keep asking them, keep reminding them. Have you signed up for our monthly photo contest this month? Share, or you could say, share, take a screenshot of the favorite quote of the book, or like a passage of the book that you love. And share that. So it doesn't have to be a selfie necessarily, but just really getting creative on what you want people to share, and then just keep reminding them. You can't say it one time.
Right.
I had a monthly photo contest for my business, and pretty much what I just shared is what I did. And it was a game changer with my business. Granted, I had a really cute pet business, and so I would ask people to take photos of their dog with their favorite product from the box. And so I think if you have a pet business, it's a little bit easier for people to take user-generated content. But that's what I would do. I would say every month we'll choose one or two winners who will win a free box. And I kept reminding people. I made a big deal about it on social media. Every month when we would choose the winners, I would share those winners. I had a highlight on my Instagram saved with the winners every single month. So when people would start to see that, they could go and look at the past winners. And again, you're just constantly reminding people. When I shipped out my product, I had an insert, like a printable insert. And in there, it said, want to win a free box? Share your favorite product, or a picture of your dog with a box, tag us here. And every month we choose one or two winners who win a free box. So I really reminded my audience and customers constantly. And that monthly photo contest, at first I didn't get many people doing it. By the time I sold my business, I would get hundreds every single month.
Oh, wow.
Tagging me with like their favorite product from the box. And it's literally just free advertising. Every one of those people who are tagging my business, their friends and family and followers are now seeing that. And they're like, oh, where can I get that really pretty purple box? So
Yeah. And it's so true that like you have to keep doing it. Like longevity with a lot of these things is like the longer you do it, the better off you're going to be. Like the longer you do a podcast or a YouTube channel, the more content you're going to have. And if you keep having people share the same hashtag over and over again for a year, it's going to grow. So I love that idea. And I think for readers, it might be easier to start with something like take a picture of the book with your favorite drink, like your favorite cup of tea, your favorite pet. Yeah. Because people love to share pictures of their pet. So something like that would be great.
Yeah. It can be anything. You can just try it out, and then you can tweak it as you go.
Modify.
But
that's great. Well, this has been amazing. I have got a whole page of notes. We appreciate you being here. Tell everyone where they can find out more about you and what you do. And does your book have a pre-order yet? Is it up for pre-order yet?
Yes.
Well, if you send us the link, we'll put it in the show
If you'll
notes.
send us
I'm
the
like,
link.
I have no idea.
We're sorry we didn't ask that question beforehand.
Yeah,
You're fine. I think it is, but I'm still in the stage of like, I'm not sure.
We totally get it. We
Yeah.
completely understand because we've been there too. So
Yeah,
tell everybody where to
absolutely.
find your website and your podcast and stuff like that.
Yes.
Awesome. So my podcast is a 6-figure product business podcast, and my website is my first name, last name. So Kerrie, Kerrie, Fitzgerald.com. And then my Instagram is Kerrie.a.Fitzgerald. And again, Kerrie. You can definitely listen and say hello and let me know.
And the book is on pre-order. So
Awesome.
So you can go to Amazon anyway, and
That's so confusing.
I know.
It's so confusing. Oh my God. Like I know all about, e-commerce and all that, but book stuff.
It is a whole nother world. And it sounds
It's
like
a whole nother world.
Sounds like you're doing great. I mean, if you're on Ingram Spark and have that figured out, you're streets ahead of so many people. So you're doing great.
Oh,
Ingram Spark is definitely challenging.
Yeah. There's some challenges there. So, but anyway,
we'll put the link to the pre-order we'll put the link to the pre-order in our show notes too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
No
So
problem.
thanks for being here today and sharing all this information with us. I think will have given people a lot of good things to think about, some new ways of thinking. So thanks to Alexa Larberg for editing and producing the podcast. And thanks to Adriel Wiggins for doing the admin. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. We hope this episode inspired you, empowered you, and made you laugh a little bit too. If you loved it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. We look forward to being with you again next week.